Hello everyone. The video this is a reply to was a description of how we craft narratives to make ourselves feel good. And although I was talking about racism, there are many other different types of pseudo-activism. And by that I mean ways to inflict your butthurt on the world, which it is applicable to. And I was trying to approach the mind of several people, not just HerrIQ, in a way that was not insulting. Well, I'm not feeling that generous now, although not that specific either. This is not an attack on anyone in particular, except for people I will name, like HerrIQ, fringeelements, spawktalk, DianaBoston, nuclearnight, let me see. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about you here. When I was growing up, I went to, and God, I must be getting old now that I'm telling when I was growing up stories. And it's always interesting that it doesn't matter what group it is, there's always something about me, about I'm white, I'm male, I'm older, whatever, or white male and older. Something about me that invalidates my argument. Fuck off. Whatever. The entire idea of activism of any form is that you want to change the world. You want to bring some change into reality because something about the way the world is now sucks. Bullshit is when you want to sit there taking advantage of the system as it is and use it to whine about what is going on in the world around you that makes you feel unjustly persecuted. When I was growing up, I learned not what was intended, not what people were trying to teach me, because I'm difficult that way, but I learned about racism and feminism and things like that, talking to people whose grandfather told them about being thrown off their farm, or the farm they worked, because newly freed slaves could be hired for less. About being Rosie the Riveter, about dealing with the post-war period in which women were supposed to get back to the kitchen, about feeding themselves and protecting themselves, quote-unquote protecting, from the black workers leaving the South in droves and trying to protect their white union jobs. I grew up with some nasty people. And I will never forget the look of contempt on the face of a relative as he, please forgive my language, but this is what he called it, as he showed me the nigger knocker, which was an axe handle with a piece of metal wrapped around, the end and tacked to it and hammered to conform to it. That looked like it had been used. And my look of shock, because I was just barely a teenager when I saw this, and from the DC area, so I wasn't really prepared to deal with that level of hostility towards other human beings. I have since learned to understand that the world is not a nice place. But I digress. When you talk to people, when you have talked to people who were there through the rise of the Klan and were there not only, in the 1920s, when it was about the very rich and their joy and their increasing privilege and the increasing hierarchy, but the poor who were grasping at the last shreds, what they saw as the last shreds of their privilege that were taken from them during the Civil War, and they wouldn't have put it in these terms. But when you talk to people who have been through levels of suffering and pain and desperation and fear that are completely unlike anything you see in the United States today. When you talk to people who, in your lifetime, in my lifetime, who have watched, who are already pretty sketchy about people of different races, who are watching their mills and their factories being disassembled or broken up, and their jobs shipped off to brown people on other continents, maybe you think I definitely think they're attacking the wrong people, but you understand that their motivation cannot be questioned as far as how deep it is, how strong their anger is. When you assholes, and by you I mean the people I listed and your little followers, and by followers I do not mean you have some kind of hierarchy or secret circle, you're not that fucking organized. Don't give yourself airs that you even appear to be that coherent, okay? When you exist in a system to draw the eyeballs of stupid people to this website so they can look at and occasionally click on ads, you are a failure as an activist. When I put ads on my videos to compensate me for the stupid people I am dealing with, like you, not most of my subscribers, you're wonderful people, great, nice, whatever. The ones I love best are the ones who argue with me just because, oh wow, I get to think, yay, all right. But, I mean, this is why I put ads on videos, is the libertarians inspired me. Oh, the free market is wonderful, fine, you will pay me to deal with your bullshit. And it just sort of went on from there, and it was a lovely thing, and it still goes on. But when you think solely in terms of your suffering and dish out your big steaming pile of someone else's crappy rhetoric with a nice thick layer of self-righteous entitled emo icing, you realize you've almost reached the peak of what you can do and be in the current model of the universe you have. One of you might become dangerous, and I'm not saying anyone in particular, but one of you might wind up with, John Wilkes Booth is a good example, an actor who pranced and preened and made little conspiracies and was, felt so awful about the South and the northern aggression, and this is horrible in the Southern way of life, and I'm going to write long butthurt letters. And that's about it. He was a slacktivist until he accidentally wound up at Ford's Theater. And when I say accidentally, he did not intend to go kill Lincoln. He was sitting on the steps of Ford Theater, and then all of a sudden he hears, oh, Abraham Lincoln's going to be here tonight. I'm going to blow the motherfucker away. So he goes to the little circle, the less poserish circle of people around him, because some of them were actually former Confederate soldiers. And he cooks up a plan, to kill Lincoln, and he goes and he does it, making the entire thing an expression of just how wronged, making himself a symbol of how wronged the South was and lashing out in revenge, and in doing so, doing far more harm to the South than he probably could have ever comprehended. Reconstruction, as we know it today, would not have happened without John Wilkes Booth. Okay? The crushing of the South by the North after the Civil War would not have happened without John Wilkes Booth being a total drama whore. And that is what I see as the absolute most you can accomplish, is to destroy your own cause and drive it underground for generations. And I think it's a 1 in a billion shot at best that any one of you would be coherent and stable enough to pull that off. So, what I'm trying to say is, if you feel wronged by people who do not bask in your glory, who do not appreciate the fine words you bring to the discussion, keep in mind that it's because we think you, by your very existence, by the very self-important nature of your rhetoric, prove yourself to be the undermining of all you purport to support. My indifference about whether you agree with me or not is beyond words. Not in intensity, but in purity. For everyone else, I'll be having a blog TV tonight at 7 Eastern Daylight, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight. I will put up another video, a little quick video about the blog TV, in which I want to discuss things like race and slacktivism and the difference between feminism and butthurt. And these ideas, and what it means to be an activist, working within the system, working outside the system, you're a radical. So, God, but we'll talk about these things. We'll mock some videos, browse a couple of stupid people's channels, point and laugh, maybe go look at something interesting. We'll have a good time. Come by. Thank you for your time and attention.